Hey, church family. One of the authenticating signs that Jesus Christ was in fact the Messiah was the miracles he performed. He healed people who were sick. He raised people from the dead, and he controlled the forces of nature. The Gospels record 35 of his miracles, but they also tell us that he performed many other miracles that aren't recorded. But did you know that John the Baptist, who Jesus once referred to as the greatest man who'd ever been born, was also a man who struggled with his faith, despite all the miracles he'd seen? I want us to think about 3 things we can learn about faith from John the Baptist. Lesson number 1. Strong believers still wrestle with their faith. Strong believers still wrestle with their faith. John grew up convinced that his cousin Jesus was the Messiah, predicted by the prophets. But then, John was arrested for his preaching. He was thrown in prison, and he started to doubt. And his doubt was based on the common misunderstanding that when the Messiah would come, he would immediately set up his kingdom. It's not unusual for spiritual leaders to go through times of uncertainty. In fact, almost every single instance of the word doubt in the New Testament refers to believers, not unbelievers. So if you're having doubts today, I encourage you to first do with your doubts what John the Baptist did with his. He went to Jesus. He sent his disciples to ask Jesus, "Are you the Messiah we've been expecting, or should we keep looking for someone else?" Lesson number 2. Growing believers are willing to examine the evidence for their faith. Growing believers are willing to examine the evidence for their faith. Jesus answered John's question by pointing him to things he was doing as well as the prophecies that predicted that Messiah would do those things when he came. Jesus told those who brought John's questions to him, "Go back and tell John what you've heard and seen. The blind see, the lame walk, those with leprosy are cured, the deaf hear, the dead are raised to life, and the good news is being preached to the poor." In other words, go tell John to look at the things I've done in light of these prophecies. And lesson number 3, genuine believers continue in their faith. Genuine believers continue in their faith. Jesus concluded his words to John by saying, "God blesses those who do not fall away because of me." In other words, John, don't be surprised if God doesn't do everything you want him to do. I know you're suffering in prison, and there's a lot you don't understand, but I've given you enough evidence to keep you believing in me. As believers, we should never give up what we know for what we don't know. Even though miracles may be happening around you, but not to you, even though you may feel like you're imprisoned by some experience, some event, or some set of circumstances, that doesn't diminish who God is. He's on the throne, he's in control. He runs the universe, you and I don't. So let God be God and you be you. And if you're struggling with a matter of faith, I pray you'd wrestle with it, reason through it, and come to a place that you can rest your head and your heart on the pillow of who Jesus has proved himself to be. Amen.